Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Leanne.
I'm Hayley.
Today's podcast is talking about being emotionally responsible for others. And I'm going to start today because Hayley Pansom, wonderful woman that you are, Hayley, really helped me see something one day when we were doing our usual hourly, half an hour each phone call of downloading. Being emotionally responsible for others, I think it's something that happens that we're not actually aware of. So it's an unconscious thing in patterns of behaviour. So I kept finding that I was being emotionally responsible for other people's happiness. So what happened was my massive insight on this was actually I was a classic rescuer. So if there was someone not feeling great, I would always help. They would feel better, but then it was an ongoing job that I signed up for without even realising. I don't believe anyone's broken. No one needs fixing. It's our thoughts about ourselves that we believe we are our past traumas and things like that. So I spoke to Hayley about it once, and Hayley was just like, she's going, like, Leanne, I'm really picking up on your feeling you're being responsible for people's emotions. And I was just like, yeah, I get that. And then she was like, she's like, when was the first time you felt emotionally responsible, Leanne? And it was just such a direct question. And I was obviously ready to hear it because it just hit me between the eyes. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, oh, I think I was a child. Because it was innocent from people. When I talk about people's innocence, basically, I was always called, my mum would always call me Sunshine Girl because I'd come in a room and just have that ability to smile, and everyone would be entertained or going, oh, isn't she lovely? And la la, she's always smiling, all right. And then they started calling me Smiler. So I unconsciously took that responsibility on, that it was my job to lift a room and anyone else that was in it. So then I developed another behaviour of I would ask all the questions about everyone else, be interested in them, and really not give them a chance to ask anything about me, because I was very, very clever, very quick on not wanting to talk about myself because there was other issues going on in my childhood at the time. So all this became really clear one day when Hayley whacked me around the face with a massive wet fish. And just said, Leanne. You did though. That's what it felt like. Okay, light bulb moment. Let's say it in a nice way. It was like a big, wet, smelly fish. And she was like, Leanne, you're not emotionally responsible for people. And I went, I know that. She's like, no, you don't. And I was like, how am I emotionally responsible? She said, it's your boundaries, and it all comes into play. So boundaries, listening to your wisdom, but when you disregard yourself, and you're not noticing that someone else's happiness isn't your job. People are responsible for their own happiness. It's an inside job. So for me, that was like little fanfare that went off in my head. I'm very visual when I explain things. We've got a wet fish and a fanfare. So for me, it was just like, oh, Hayley, bless you. And then all of a sudden, because Kim, who I work with, she was always like, you're rescuing again. Watch out for the rescuing. And I was like, oh, I know, I'm a classic rescuer. So stay out of the arena of drama of like perpetrator, victim, and rescuer, and actually stand in your own power. So I'm saying all these distinctions in my head, and I'm going, no rescuing, I'm not going to rescue. But it was an unconscious thing that happens. So when the emotion, Hayley was like, you're not emotionally responsible for anyone else, I was like, oh my God. It kind of drops in. It's like you hear it, and then you're like, oh my God, that is so simple. It's something I was doing. I've been doing that since a child, and I'm now 46. And I hadn't even had the awareness or the understanding. So since that day, I'll go on now and discuss this with other people. And it's a really beautiful thing, knowing that you don't have to be emotionally responsible for how someone is going to take news, or if someone's feeling down. They have got the resilience in them to work it out for themselves. You can support and guide and stand strong with somebody, but you don't need to give a solution. You don't need to give an answer. They don't need fixing. They will work it out for themselves. And we always do this in teaching in groups and stuff. Yeah, I was still charging on my white horse, going, "Oh, I'll make you feel better," and not realising it's not my responsibility. So since that day, thank you, Hayley, and I have to obviously thank you to Kim as well, actually, because seriously, that day, Hayley, honestly, I was just like, "Oh my God, I have been doing this without even realising." So bless you, darling. Thank you very much. So that's my story about realising that I was being emotionally responsible for others and being in a lot of rescue.
Yes, thank you, Leanne, for sharing. And like you said before, no language is original. And I remember I remember the day somebody pointed it out to me. This is where I grew. So I was in therapy at the time, and he was like, do you feel emotionally responsible a lot? And it was the same thing. It was like, bam, light bulb moment. Well, no, actually, no, it wasn't. That's a lie. So it wasn't a lie, a memory. So I was like, yeah, didn't really take it. But I was walking down the road that same day after being after working with one of my clients, and it was like, that's the bam moment I got. Oh, I get it. And then the memories all come back. So from innocence, growing up again, all from the intentions of love. I remember, so I had 4 brothers, and we was quite noisy, should we say, and we would fight, as siblings sometimes do. And my mum would get upset, and my dad would go, "Look what you've done to your mum. Look, all of you, look what you've done to your mum." So my next thing was, I need to make my mum happy again. I need to be good, I need to make her happy. And then also, because I was born up in a Catholic household, my dad was very much, he would do everything for everyone. And this was his thing, you last, do everything for everyone, and it's a rescue and me. So, be there for everyone, do things. So I was last on the list in my own mind, thinking, well, no, that's not good. I've got to do it for everyone else. And if they're not happy, well, there's something I've done. I've got to make them happy somehow. And then I become a rescuer. And then the moment when we see this, so people see it as pleasing. I used to think, I'm just a pleaser. It's actually not. It's you feeling, that's just another language for it. But when that never hit home. Okay, I'm a pleaser. Okay, I get it. But when you get it and you think, oh, it's not pleasing, it's actually, you think you're failing if they're sad. If they're not happy, you think you're failing. So, it's your job to make them happy, and then you feel better. So, it's happened in relationships as well. If the atmosphere was quite uncomfortable, should we say, and they weren't happy, I couldn't just relax. I couldn't just sit there. I'd have to get them to be happy again. I'd have to please them, or not please again, but I'd have to comply. I'd have to comply. Don't text other people.
Sorry, who was telling you, Hayley, to comply?
Me.
Yes. It's madness, isn't it?
Me. So I was saying, if you I didn't use the word comply, but I was thinking, well, if you don't do what makes them sad or angry or upset, then the atmosphere will be good, and then you feel good. So again, it's this feeling responsible for how they feel. So I would stop being me. I wouldn't go out because that didn't make them happy.
I don't mean to laugh, but I so get that. I'm so relating to what you're saying.
But it's just, and then when you think, oh, now I have this empathy. Oh, bless you, Hayley. It was innocence, but when you heard that feeling responsible, that was like a massive light bulb moment. but it was after the relationship. I was now in a healthy relationship. It was just, even then, even though I was in a healthy relationship, even when Steve was, you know, he might have been in a mood, I'd think, oh, it must be something I'm doing. Like, ego, but it must be because I'm me. I must be so powerful in his life. And that was, that was a great feeling. And it was always, no, Hayley, I'm just having a bit of a bad day.
It's got nothing to do with you.
But that, yeah. So some you know, some people might relate to it as they please. Some people might relate to it as if there's an atmosphere in the room that you feel uncomfortable all of a sudden. Just carry on being you. Just be responsible for how you feel in that moment. And that's what was the magic. It felt like magic for me. And the energy lift that I feel when because don't get me wrong, it still happens today, and then I have to sort of remind myself it's not an overnight thing. It's it's a lot less than it was before. It's now more of a natural thing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there, Hayley. Mine's well, I love the word diminish. So mine's diminishing over time. But Will Smith did a great YouTube thing about how he sees responsibility. I wish I could do his accent and how he says it, but I'm going to give it a go.
Right.
So he's just like, him and his wife, you know, they were like, you know, a bit flat, and like, because they were being emotionally responsible for each other and making them happy. And then he just went one day, like, how about you go and be responsible for your own happiness, I'll be responsible for mine, and we'll come back together and we'll talk about how great that is. And in that moment I was like, oh, I love the authenticity of Will Smith when he just has one of these moments, gets a camera and talks about it. And he said because basically we're in a relationship and it's 100%, so you're 50% responsible and I'm 50% responsible. He said, we'll come together and then we can be happy together and discuss what we're happy about, and then we can be happy together. And it was just like, it's so simple. Most things are. We make it complicated with our thoughts and illusions and the stories we get into about ourselves. And, you know, and I totally get that control over a mood in a room, and then you jump out of being your true self, and then you're like, oh my God, what can I do to make them feel better? What can I do? Actually, there's nothing you can do because they've got to do it themselves. And it's such a simple thing, but I think, you know, we're all human. We all do this stuff. And I just think it's when you catch yourself doing it, and then you can have a really good laugh. I mean, I laugh a lot. I mean, at my patterns and little faux pas, because I see the awareness that I have now about myself is getting more and more every time. I have one of those insights or realizations, light bulb moments. So much language to describe one thing. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So and it's like, oh my God, you know. So now I do get excited. You know, I've had quite a lot of. No, that sound awful. I've had relationships that haven't worked, so I say, and they've all been a bit. Well, you know, I've endured a lot of domestic abuse, and I'm not talking about violent abuse. I'm talking about verbal and mental abuse. And you know, that's because of my childhood. It's not because of. I'm not blaming it. But you know, I thought it was quite normal to shout at each other a lot. So it was just. It's just, and all of a sudden I was just like, no, I don't want that. I'm not emotionally responsible for you. You know, I'm only responsible for me. So, you know, we're only responsible for how we actually respond and react to any situation. So, you know, that comes back to that again. It always weaves, doesn't it? It always comes into so much more behaviour and yeah, it really does. So all this stuff is just magic. It really is. When you live life with a bit more ease and flow.
And it is, like you say, it's simple, but we make it complicated. But when the moment you realise, that presence you feel, oh, I'm doing it again. But, you know, you said you laugh a lot, and I love that, because I think people can be hard on themselves. I was, first of all. I was like, oh, I'm doing it again. And I was really hard on myself, and that was never working. But when you become lighter with it, oh look, I'm doing it again. You know, it's really like it's funny, and you have that nice moment. Then it becomes simpler
Mm.
because we do it. You know, I do it. I used to do it everywhere, like work, when I was at school, for teachers. If teachers got upset, oh, it's something I've done. I'm not, you know, I'm not complying.
Yeah.
It was, you know, because how many times have you heard, you've made me angry, you've
Yeah.
made me upset? You know, I don't know if you heard of Joe Dispenza. I think I've mentioned him
Yeah.
before. He said this amazing thing. So he said, you know, you have a breakup or something else has happened in your life, and someone says, you know, why are you angry or why are you upset? Oh, because I've just had I've just been divorced. Oh, okay. Fair enough. 5 years later, you're right. Why are you angry? Because of something that happened 5 years ago. What they did to me. What they did to me. And then
Yeah.
again, it could go on like 10 years later. Why are you angry? Because of something that happened 10 years ago. But when you just, that's, you know, when you finally see, oh, do you know what? I'm only responsible for me. What did I do in that relationship? Where was my thing? You know, where was my responsibility? Was I available? You know, etc. It's so much easier when you are responsible just for you, and
Mm.
especially like, as we're talking about today, is that emotionally, and you're just responsible for your happiness, and it's really is simple when you get it. Because I fought it,
Yeah.
I did fight it at first.
Oh God, yeah. Definitely fight it.
You've got to have a little fight.
Yeah, you go a little fight, haven't you? And then go, now I see.
Have you had
Yeah,
enough?
I love that, like the coaching question that really helped me, and I help other people with. And I just go, you know, when there's a situation, there's life, isn't there? Stuff happens, and it's just like, instead of kind of thinking they did this and they did that and they made me feel and everything else, I just now go, what could I have done differently? Where was my tone of voice, or was I reacting, not responding? Was I reacting? Did I react in like a really unhelpful manner, or you know, and stuff? And since then, I've, you know, really been able to look at myself, because I think the one thing with the work we do, Hayley, is you've really got to practice what you're teaching. You know, and be the best version of ourselves to be able to help people, and be really honest with the faux pas that we've made along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's authenticity is where it's at, isn't it? Really is, every single time. But yeah, you know, let's just cut the slacks of being emotionally responsible for everyone else. It's exhausting.
And if it gets too complicated, just repeat this question. I'm only responsible for my reactions. That's it. Not other people's reactions, just yours. And that, you know, just, well, you know, that becomes, I think it becomes simpler when we just look at that. I'm only responsible for my reactions. Because your response is normally from love. I say a response is lovely. It's just a response.
Mm-hmm.
Sit back and you evaluate, you think, you know, and that's a response. But yeah, so if I react and someone reacts badly to me, I can only be responsible for what, oh, you know what, I did actually just shout at them, or just, you know, said something, an attack. You do this. I attack them. So yeah, so when you look at it like that, you're only responsible for your reactions. If someone's still upset about something a week later, you're not responsible for that. You don't need to make that better. You took responsibility and said, you know what, I'm sorry for doing that. Genuinely, that weren't okay. That's it. That's it. And then you just carry on with your day.
Yeah.
Because that as well, you know, when I'd have arguments, like when I was, especially in school, I'd think, well, they're not talking to me still, so it must be something I've done. It must be. If they're not talking to me, it must be something I've done. and that was a big one as well. But when I learned this, you've took responsibility. What else can you do? You've been exhausted if you carried on texting this person and saying sorry. You've said sorry, that's it, and you meant it.
That's it.
You meant it. You know, obviously, if you just say, oh, I'm sorry, and don't mean it, that's not really an apology, is it?
No, not
if
at all.
if your intentions are to you know, give that person that love and that empathy, that to me is you being responsible. There's nothing more that needs to be done. And if somebody comes to you for advice and they, you know, you've been on the other and they keep on coming back with the same advice, it's not your responsibility to make them get over this. Like you say, you know, it's their responsibility. They have to. They're repeating because they're stuck somewhere, which is okay. We have to get stuck, don't we? But it's not our responsibility to make somebody happy.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I think the clearing up of a mistake is really important. I really wish this was taught to children in schools. You know, I really do wish there was a whole lesson on the art of clearing up a misunderstanding. You know, so like, you know, so something happens. You this is what you risk. Actually, I learned this, and so if something happens, you kind of look at yourself and say, right, so I'm apologising for my part in that. That's my responsibility. Okay, so I apologise for that. So, and it's not down to you if that person is willing to accept that apology. So if that person then is just like, oh, I know, oh, okay, yeah, I'm sorry for my part too, but then brings it up every 5 minutes, that's their stuff, because they haven't really accepted your apology. Or if they decide to say, no, it's too bad, I'm never going to forgive you, and everything, that's their stuff too. You've already cleared up your part of it, and you've apologised and taken responsibility for your part in it. Other than that, there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah. And again, it's the same if you flip it. If you apologise for something, but then you carry on doing that same thing, is it really an apology? I've took responsibility, but I'm going to carry on doing what I've been doing.
Oh God, the disingenuous apology! Brilliant. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. Hayley, well done.
Can you see? So there's people out there that might be thinking, "Oh yeah, I'll just carry on cheating." You know, I've said sorry.
And you said, I'll take it back. So what's your problem?
And they're just hurting themselves. So an apology is a genuine empathy.
Yes.
A genuine empathy and seeing what you did actually wasn't okay. That's an apology. A genuine taking responsibility, being emotionally responsible for you. Because so many people could have listened to this and gone, yeah, I got it. Just going to say sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Well, it's like that's the children, you know, like when as a parent, my son, like, the kids are really, really blooming smart. I mean, you know, they're more in the present than us adults, I tell you. Like, so if my son done something, he would do something, and I'm like, no, you're not allowed to do it. And he's like, sorry. He learnt the word sorry, but not really the true meaning of it. And then he'll just keep doing it. So then there has to be a consequence. Do you know what I mean? It took me quite a while to learn that if you give him a consequence, then he really understands what sorry is, because he's now got to work. Do you know what I mean? For not doing it again. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, children, they just, you know, you see so many children just go, I'm really sorry. And then the parent, and what are you sorry for? I was naughty. Yes, he was naughty. Okay, then off you go and have some fun now. Do you know what I mean? It's just like that, they let them off really easily. So like, if it's like the 5th time of this child doing something, and it's the same rules, it's the same boundaries as adults. You know, if you're going to let someone keep doing something without any consequence, then they're just going to keep doing it. That boundary is not in place. So yes,
and that's the allowing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not love for them or for you when we allow. So when you are completely responsible, when you say, when you apologise for them, you are accountable. You know, you're emotionally responsible for what you've done. The consequence could be that person has had enough, and they're not going to, they're going to say, look, I do appreciate your apology genuinely, but I'm done. And again, for you to be emotionally responsible, you can't blame them for that decision. That's a consequence.
Yep.
And it's just fair enough. And if you understand that, you get it. You get it. Well, I respect that. And you learn from it. That's how we learn and grow.
That's it. And it really is that love is the answer to everything.
That's it.
Isn't it? Yeah, loving yourself.
Yeah. You're either in love or you're in fear.
Yeah. Well, emotional responsibility. Yes, I think we are, darling. I think we've talked that one to death. Oh, darling. Oh, well, pleasure as always, Hayley.
Yes.
Pearls of wisdom. So,
and yours. I love our conversations. I just love them. It sets me up for my Sunday.
Yes, brilliant. So, perhaps same time next week. So, anyone listening to this, if you please like, subscribe, share, that would be wonderful, because the aim of these recorded conversations is to help people, and that's our intention. So keeping it real is where it's at.
Yes, we're just keeping it real. Keeping it real with Hayley in the app.
Okay, guys, see you.
Thank you. Take care, Leanne. Have a lovely Sunday.
And you, darling. Take care. Bye.
Bye.